fumbled it for a moment, but they grab hold for the 6.
So, welcome to Grace Church. We're glad you're here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I never get tired of watching that clip. That is an awesome clip. I watch it all the
Neither
time.
do I.
So, a couple questions we have for you today. I want to start with the idea that Super Bowl and the clock is going from 10, 9, 8 down to 0. And take us back there and tell us about what your feelings were, what your thoughts were when that gun went off and you won the Super Bowl. So let's talk about that.
Well, you know, the game was a fairly close game. But after halftime, as time was ticking, every time Cam had the ball, I was like, man, I cannot lose another one of these things. I cannot go through this again. But our defense played well. They played better than well. You know, they carried us the whole year, and just the excitement that they brought to the field that night truly was a joy to watch. And to finally have that clock hit 0, if you could see the smile, I don't smile too often, but if you could see my face right there, you would know that that's the face of happiness.
That's great. That's great. And I see that you have this little ring on your finger there.
Yeah, this little guy.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is. When I first got it, I wore it for 48 hours straight. Didn't take it off once. So that probably means I didn't take a shower. That's not good.
That's funny. So let's transition and talk about your relationship with Jesus. Let's talk a little bit about how that's transitioned a little bit, and so just tell us a little bit about your faith life.
You know, I was raised in a Christian household. My parents, they sent us to a private school, and that's where I learned a bulk of what I know about Scripture. You know, we had to memorize Bible verses every week and recite them in chapel on Fridays, and then we had a Bible verse test. So I learned a lot about Scripture early on. And then taking that to high school and college, where you're on your own, you kind of have to decide what are you going to do, you know, follow the ways of the world or you know, follow Christ. And, you know, there are some bumps along the road, you know, it's never perfect, but, you know, ultimately I chose to follow Christ, and it's something that, you know, I'll always take joy and pride in.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about you transition into the NFL, and it's got to be a little hard to have a faith life in the NFL. There's a lot of pressure, a lot of things around you, a lot of temptations. So talk about that a little bit.
Well, for me, I'm a lot different than a lot of guys. I don't like the thought of being a follower, the thought of doing what everybody else is doing sickens me. So I always just try to do what Virgil Green wants to do. And for me, living in a life of faith, understanding what Scripture and the promises that God has for me, is something that makes my life a lot easier. Like when I'm living right and knowing that I'm in Scripture, reading the Bible, like I just have a sense of peace about me. When I'm doing things I'm not supposed to be doing, it's just like everything just goes downhill and it just tumbles and starts to roll, and I'm like, no. But when I'm living through Christ, it's something that it's hard to explain the amount of joy and the peace and the happiness that you have in your heart.
Yeah, thank you for that. So let me just tell you all this, that Virgil has let me into his life. He's given me his cell number, and you can't have it, by the way. I'm just telling you, it's mine. But he's invited me to text him from time to time and verses, and I just want you to know that in my relationship with Virgil, he is the real deal. He is sincere in his faith, and it has been a joy to watch him excel in football, and I'm a great football fan, but also to excel in his Christian faith. That is an awesome thing. And so thank you for that. What would be the greatest challenge that you have in living your faith life out the world's watching you. Mm-hmm. So what is the greatest challenge that you might have?
Honestly, the greatest challenge for me is not responding to like negativity. You know, a lot of times I'll post things on social media, especially during the season. I don't post much. If you guys ever follow me, you'll be like, well, why am I following this guy? Because, like I said, I don't believe in being a follower in that aspect. But when I do post something, it's few and far between. And, a lot of times people will say things or have negative things to say about how I go about my life. And sometimes it makes me angry. I want to, like James said, don't make him angry. Sometimes it makes me angry, but I have to just relax. And for me, because I'm taught to use aggression, I've been taught that since I was 13 to be aggressive. And dealing with those things, I have to just say, okay, maybe they don't understand things the way I understand it. How should I talk to my wife, how do you think I should respond? Don't respond at all. So I'm like, okay, all right, I'll let it be.
That's wise counsel. Speaking of your aggressive nature and your competitiveness, James Kitchen tells me that he was playing in an NBA K game. Is that right? And he actually beat you.
2K.
And so 2K, is that what it is? And you wouldn't let him go to bed until you beat him. Is that right?
No, that's actually James has kind of twisted it up a little bit. He can beat me in FIFA. He's got that. But you should ask him what the Oklahoma City Thunder did to the Warriors last night. Got him pretty good.
Okay, I guess that settles that then. So I read a stat recently that said that only 2.2% of high school football players will ever see any action in the NFL. And that's just an amazing stat, 0.2%, and not even 2%, 0.2%. So we have a lot of college players here at Grace and student athletes. What would you say to them in terms of what would they have to do to make that next level?
For me, first of all, you have to thank God for having the ability, the athletic ability to even make it that far. And secondly, I grew up playing basketball, I've said this before, but when I decided that football was my thing, I dedicated myself to it. Whatever I had to do in the weight room, the film room, not just on the field, but academically as well. You have to have a certain GPA, and I never wanted school to get in the way of me chasing the NFL. And what a lot of people don't know is those coaches, you want to go to the NFL, those coaches will research everything about you. They want to know how smart you are. They want to know, what kind of person you are, how you did in middle school. I had a middle school teacher, the NFL, I got a letter from them wanting to know something about you. I'm like, really? They're going that far back? Goodness gracious. Well, thank God my parents were on top of things. So it's crazy. You just have to dedicate yourself and understand that there's going to be some ups and downs. There have been days where I wanted to quit. I'm done with football, never again. But I stuck to it and believed that I could truly make it as long as I stayed dedicated.
So you've had to play through some injuries this year. So talk about those injuries. You're in rehab right now, I understand.
Oh my gosh.
And so talk about those injuries.
I hurt my calf a couple weeks ago, so I'm dealing with that. But early on in the year, I was blocking DeMarcus Ware, and he's a man child. I look at him and like, I gotta deal with him every day. Well, my finger got caught in his jersey, dislocated my finger, and I did that about 6-7 more times throughout the season. Saw a doctor, I tore every ligament in the finger, split my tendon in half, had 3 surgeries this offseason, going to rehab. I can barely, you see how I gotta hold this microphone, this finger's just I can't even bend it. So it's tough to deal with injuries. Rehab is something I would never wish on my worst enemy, because it's just, it's a grind, but that's just the worst part of dealing with football, to going through these injuries.
So speaking of worst part of football, let's talk about what is it that really encourages you? What is it that you like about what you do?
Well, I love winning. I love winning a lot. I will admit, my wife tells me, you're a sore loser. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to lose. What? But what I get great pride and joy in doing about my job is putting another man on his back against his will. I get great, oh my gosh, you have no idea. If you could see my face after I do that, you'll say, that's another happy guy right there.
Just for clarity, you're talking about on the field, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because I have a few staff members that I might want you to talk to after this.
No, just on the field.
So what is the hardest part of your job? What is it that you get up and go, I wish I didn't have to do this today?
Just the physical part of things, I'm getting older now. I'm 27. And when I was 21, I could go to practice, not stretch, not do anything, and I'm good to go. Now, if I were to do that, oh my gosh, that's gonna be a tough day. But just waking up every morning, just knowing that you have to go attack the day. You can't wake up saying, oh my gosh, why, how, why me? No. I don't believe in that. I wake up, my wife will tell you, I wake up with exuberance every morning, ready to go. I get my music bumping, and I say, we're gonna go attack this day, no matter what comes in the way. And that's how I motivate myself.
So tell us a little bit about what a typical work week would be like for you during season.
So the day, say we play on Sunday, we have to go in Monday to work out, watch film. Tuesday is completely off. And when I say completely off, I mean if I gotta drive by the facility, I'm taking an alternate route, okay? Completely off. I don't even wanna see a light near the facility. Wednesday and Thursdays are our tough work days. We really grind those 2 days a lot because we have our offense, but for different teams, we have to switch up different things. We have to talk about different things. We spend a lot of time in meetings. So Wednesday and Thursday, we'll come in at 8 o'clock, special teams meeting. After that, we'll have a team meeting. After that, we'll have an offensive meeting. After that, we'll have an individual meeting. Then we go to practice for 2 hours, lift, have another meeting, and we're done usually around 3:40, 4 o'clock. So a lot of people think, we just go to practice 2 hours a day, go home and play Madden the rest of the day. That's just not how it works. There's a lot of preparation that goes into these games that you watch on Sundays, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I can say that, tears for real.
What stadium would you say that you absolutely hate to go to? Like when you play in Denver, the fans go wild, it's awesome. What stadium do you hate to go to?
Sorry in advance for any teams I may mention. I actually like to travel to away games for the simple fact that I love to be booed. I get great joy out of that. Like when I run out of there, I'm like, yes, feed me. Feed me. I just like to be booed, but I hate playing in New England. It's not because, I just don't like them, but it's because every time I've been there, it's been unbearable in terms of weather. Like, how cold it is, Denver gets cold, I get that. But for some reason, that East Coast cold is a whole nother cold. Goodness gracious, I remember I went to the field, I'm already telling myself I'm not wearing no long sleeves today. I don't